Paul Turpin, je serai votre animateur aujourd'hui pour l'activité d'idéation. 48 heures Top Chrono est une compétition entrepreneuriale à l'attention, et cette compétition est le fruit d'une collaboration entre le RED et Immigration, Réfugiés et Citoyenneté Canada. La compétition entrepreneuriale vise particulièrement les résidents permanents francophones et bilingues. Cette année, nous en sommes à la première édition, et première édition, comme vous pouvez le voir, qui se déroule en ligne avec la collaboration de la Société économique de l'Ontario et qui met à l'honneur les immigrants résidents en Ontario. Comme vous le savez, la compétition entrepreneuriale est composée de conférences et d'ateliers avec des mentors spécialistes dans leur domaine. Pour clôturer le premier 48 heures Top Chrono, vous, chers entrepreneurs en devenir, vous devrez défendre en groupe votre projet de commerce électronique devant un jury composé de professionnels de renom. La compétition entrepreneuriale 48 heures Top Chrono aura lieu tous les ans pour les 5 prochaines années, et ce, dans différentes provinces et territoires du Canada, hors Québec, afin que les immigrants qui le désirent puissent y participer. À vous, entrepreneurs en devenir, je vous souhaite de vivre une expérience stimulante et enrichissante. L'activité d'aujourd'hui va se dérouler donc essentiellement en 4 temps. Ce matin, donc dès que j'aurai terminé avec le mot de bienvenue, nous aurons le plaisir d'accueillir Krista Rooney, qui est Community Manager chez Shopify. Krista va nous entretenir pendant environ 15 minutes et elle va nous dresser un portrait des grandes tendances au niveau du commerce électronique et nous parler de certains des secteurs d'activité qui sont en croissance. Après la conférence de Christina, j'aurai sur scène virtuelle avec moi donc 3 entrepreneurs, des entrepreneurs qui ont chacun leur entreprise de commerce électronique, soit Kevin qui est le propriétaire de l'entreprise qui s'appelle The Drop, et également Kendall et Steve qui sont les propriétaires de Sadie in June. Avec nos entrepreneurs, j'aurai une conversation plus informelle pour parler de leur expérience, parler des défis associés à la création d'une entreprise de commerce électronique. Dès que nous aurons terminé donc avec la conférence et le panel, vous serez donc actifs en activité pour commencer à générer des idées. Une idée de commerce électronique, vous serez organisé par table et chacune des tables sont des tables thématiques. Je vous expliquerai en détail tantôt comment va fonctionner cette activité. Vous aurez donc des coachs qui vont vous aider, vous appuyer dans votre démarche. Une fois l'activité idéation terminée, je vais demander aux coachs de venir sur scène avec moi, question d'échanger informellement sur vos idées, qu'est-ce qu'ils vont avoir entendu dans chacun des groupes. Et finalement, la 4e partie, Reda Bensouda, qui est l'un des membres du comité organisateur avec Nada Bensouda. Donc, Reda viendra prendre la parole pour vous donner quelques informations super importantes en préparation à la compétition qui, vous savez, débute vendredi prochain, donc la compétition officielle qui a lieu les 12, 13 et 14 mars prochains. Alors, sans plus tarder, si vous me le permettez, je vais inviter donc Krista Rooney, qui est de Shopify, à venir se joindre sur scène. So, Krista, if you want to turn your microphone on and your camera, please. Krista, we're really happy to, your mic is not on. Great.
Hello, good morning.
We're really, really happy to have you on board. I know it's Saturday morning and it's great for you to spend some time with us. We really appreciate your generosity. Krista, you work as a community manager at Shopify. You have a deep passion for entrepreneurship. You like helping businesses achieve success. You like giving workshops, taking part in events, and you like to engage in conversations with people. And this is why today, while you're going to give us a conference, just before you go into your topic, what does a community manager do at Shopify? Can you give us an idea of what you do at Shopify?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I tell people I wear a lot of different hats. I do a lot of different things as a community manager at Shopify, but everything I do has the same goal, and that is to help entrepreneurs succeed in the area. So sometimes it's problem solving, sometimes it's strategy sessions, sometimes it's teaching practical skills like product photography. But Whatever it is, I'm here in the city to help entrepreneurs grow and succeed and have access to the resources that they need.
Cool. Can you give us just an idea of what you want to focus on in today's presentation, Krista, just to give an idea of where you're planning to lead us into this?
Yeah. So knowing that you are all about to enter this competition and come up with new businesses, I really wanted to inspire you today, sort of spark some ideas. So I'm going to be sharing some things that we learned from 2020, some predictions that we have for 2021, and some areas where I think there's a lot of potential for business growth.
Well, that's great, Krista. So I'll turn my mic off and camera, and you have the show. Thanks a lot again, Krista. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share in here. Perfect. So my presentation today, I will be speaking English, but I have added French text wherever I can to make it easy for everybody to understand. So as mentioned, today we're going to talk about some e-commerce trends for 2021. First, I'm going to cover some pandemic buying trends. So what did we learn from last year? I'm going to cover some 2021 predictions of how we think business is going to go this year. And then we're going to get into a few growth areas that I think will spark some ideas and make you guys think about what kind of businesses you want to start at this time. So we'll start with the pandemic buying trends. Last year, Shopify surveyed a bunch of consumers in North America, and these are some of the things that we learned. The first, obviously, there was a huge increase in online shopping. 52% of the buyers that we surveyed said they shifted more of their shopping to online compared to earlier last year or the year before. We also saw a huge support for local and independent businesses. This is a really positive thing that's come out of the pandemic, this sense of togetherness, this sense of community. These communities all over the place are coming together to support those in need, especially their small and local businesses. We heard that 57% of buyers actively seek out local, independently owned businesses to support. And 79% of those said they did so to protect local jobs and support their community. Another really big thing that came out of last year was the demand for curbside pickup. 40% of the buyers we spoke to opted for curbside pickup in the first 3 months of the pandemic. And for 31% of them, it was their first time. People have also really been enjoying local delivery. 31% of those buyers had something delivered locally in the first 3 months of the pandemic, and 33% plan to continue using local delivery. We also saw a pretty big shift toward virtual experiences. All of those things we used to do in person, we're starting to do online and virtually. We saw 14% of buyers purchase a digital version of something they would normally do in person. 63% of them said they did this more during the pandemic than ever before. So what does that mean moving forward? Of those people we surveyed, 81% of those buyers plan to continue shopping online. 61% of those buyers plan to continue supporting those small and local businesses. 38% of buyers want to keep using curbside pickup. This is an interesting one. 62% of the buyers we surveyed mentioned local delivery as a differentiator. That means if they were shopping for the same product at a few different stores, they opted for the one with local delivery because that's what made a difference to them. We also saw 14% of people say they will continue to choose a virtual experience if they're able to. So what do we think this means for 2021? What are our predictions? Where is business heading? These are some of the 2021 commerce trends we think are coming. The first one is that young consumers are going to change the business landscape. The pandemic really kickstarted a behavioral change, and e-commerce is something that young consumers are going to continue driving forward. People are hesitant to go back to in-person shopping. An online presence and e-commerce capabilities are going to be crucial. Digital isn't going anywhere. There's never going to be a time where all of a sudden we're off the internet and we're back to everything in person. It's going to be really important moving forward to have an e-commerce presence. There are also a lot more consumers buying through social media. So it's important to consider your social media presence as you start your business. Physical retail is going to transform. It's already transforming. Retailers that want to be resilient are going to start looking to technology and experiences to meet those customer needs. Things like contactless payments, in-store shopping appointments, alternative pickup and delivery options are all things you should be considering. We're already seeing this behavior shift, and we need to be ready to meet it. Things like fast shipping, conversational commerce, and shoppable social media are going to help you achieve the convenience and the reliability that are generally associated with those bigger box retailers. Consumers are also looking for sustainable products and local retailers and businesses who donate to a cause. We're really voting with our wallets now. The other thing we predict is that traditional financial institutions aren't going to be the same as they have been. We think that modern financial solutions are going to disrupt consumer banking, finance, and lending. These traditional financial institutions don't always empathize with the current realities of entrepreneurs or small businesses. A lot of businesses nowadays are seeking and finding capital outside of these traditional banks. On the flip side of that, as consumers, we're also seeing other options, things like buy now, pay later, things like payment installments. The traditional way of banking and doing finance is something that we're moving away from. So what does all of this mean for you as you are thinking about starting your businesses and coming up with your ideas? I'm going to share some of the top trending products for 2021. We'll talk about what you should think about when you're coming up with your idea, and then I'll share a couple areas where I foresee a lot of growth this year. So these are the top trending products for 2021. Doormats, storage containers, kitchen towels, toys, bookcases, crafting supplies, hairstyling tools and accessories. The best products and services solve a problem. And if we go back to this list and look again at some of these trending products, it doesn't always have to necessarily be a super huge detrimental problem. Look at some of the items that are here. Think about the situation that the world is in right now. I see things like doormats, storage containers, bookshelves, and I'm thinking people are home now more than they ever have been. Everybody wants to improve their living space because they might not have an office to go to anymore. I see things like toy kitchens and play food, and I know that a lot of schools have been closed, a lot of daycares have been closed. It's really likely that a lot of parents have their kids at home right now. I see things like needlecraft patterns. We're all bored. We can't go out and do the things we used to do. So all of these little crafty things are really taking off. Hairstyling tools and accessories, again, that's something that we used to go out and do in person that we don't have the opportunity to do anymore. So all of these products are solving problems that we didn't necessarily have a year ago, but they're also not always necessarily huge, detrimental, crucial problems. It could be a problem as small as you're home all the time and you don't like the way your home office looks. So if we are thinking about the state of the world right now, the situation that we're all in, the trends that we've seen, the predictions that we have. These are some areas where I really see growth happening. Home decor and home improvement. Again, we're all home all the time. We have a lot more time to spend on these little home projects. And we also spend a lot more time looking at our homes and being in our homes. So things like that are really popular and will continue to be popular. Educational and children's products. Again, a lot of people have their children at home when they wouldn't normally. Some people are trying to homeschool. Some people are trying to do virtual school. Either way, parents are looking for ways to entertain their children, but also educate them while they're home from school. Pet products. Everybody I know has gotten a pet since the pandemic started. Everybody's looking for that companionship. Now's a really great time to be in the pet industry because all of a sudden there are a whole bunch of new pet owners. Green and sustainable products. This goes back to how we're starting to see consumers, and especially those young consumers, vote with their wallets. People really care about causes and what product they're buying and what effect it has on the internet. We're starting to see a shift away from single-use products and moving into things that are more multi-use. I think of a skincare company that I'm currently working with. Every single product that she makes has multiple uses. So if it's a beauty oil, you can use it on your skin, you can use it on your hair, you can use it on your body. It's not one product for one thing. It's very sustainable, it's multi-use. She also has a container return program, so people actually continue to recycle their containers. Something like that is something people really care about right now. That's what people are looking for. Other things, virtual experiences and services. Again, we can't go out and do the things we used to do. I work with another merchant here in the city who is a dance teacher. And when the pandemic hit, she had to close her dance studio. All of a sudden, she had no classes for her students. What she did was she shifted everything online. She sold virtual classes online, and similar to this, they did classes over Zoom where she would teach and everybody would follow along. She has done and continues to do really well during the pandemic. And now that her studio is starting to open, she's going to be doing a mix of virtual and in person so that if people aren't comfortable coming in, they can still have their dance class. Other things to think about. Everybody has a new hobby these days. Again, we're home, we can't go out, we can't do all of the things we used to do. I'm sure everybody knows somebody who has started baking sourdough bread. That's a huge thing. Or making macrame or making candles. If you're looking for a niche and you want to be a really niche business, look into some of these hobbies. What are people doing right now? What do they want to learn? What do they want to make? Another really hot topic is tech. Think about apps or softwares and technologies that automate things or make things better. I think of a lot of the smart home products where you can press a button on your phone and all of your lights come on. Things where I think the business world is going to start getting away from. I think anything single use is on its way out. Again, we're really into sustainability and the environment and reusable products. I think anything that's single use is not going to be very popular in the next few years. You will also probably hear a lot of talk about drop shipping, which is when you partner with a supplier overseas. You don't actually hold any inventory. You're kind of the middleman. So a customer buys something from you, you order it from your supplier, and your supplier sends it to them. It's a really great way to start out because it's low cost, low inventory, low risk. But if you do choose to drop ship, you're going to want to make sure that your products are high quality. Those sort of low quality, really disposable drop shipping items aren't going to be popular. In a similar vein, if you're thinking about fashion, I really think fast fashion is on its way out. And that is sort of anything that's not really sustainable, anything that comes from a factory, anything that is just one of the general t-shirts that everybody slaps their logo on. They end up in thrift stores, they end up in landfills, they're not high quality, people aren't really attached to them, and they end up being disposable. I think we're really moving away from anything disposable and looking towards sustainability, multi-use products, things that we all need right now. Think of your life right now. What do you wish you had that you don't have? What does your neighbor wish they had that they don't have? These are the kind of things you want to think of a business that's going to solve a problem that we have right now. That is it for me. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing my screen here.
Krista, I'm impressed. That was a great presentation.
Thank you very much. I hope it was easy to follow. I'm happy to share the slides with anybody who would like a copy. And I hope you have tons of great ideas.
I'm sure they will. And I would like to ask you two quick questions, Krista.
Yeah.
One is, you mentioned earlier in your conference, you know, the pandemic accelerated the shift to online experiences. So is that creating a bit of noise in the market? Is it creating, how much a challenge is it to position a business given this new context where, you know, online experiences have been accelerated at a much higher speed? How do you see this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, with all of these online businesses, how do you stick out as an online business? That's kind of what you're getting at. So one of the things that's really important to think about in the early stages is, who is your customer? If we're thinking about starting a business to solve a problem, who has that problem? And focusing in on those people. A lot of people, when they start e-commerce stores, feel like they need to blast it out and be absolutely everywhere. They need to be on Instagram. They need to be on Facebook. They need to be on eBay. They need to be posting all over the place. But that big reach is unqualified traffic, if that makes sense, right? You want to put your product, your service, your business in front of the people who are going to buy it. So if you can spend some time as you start thinking about where your customer is and focusing on those places, it's going to be much easier for you to find them. So an example of that, I think if I was starting a business and I made a product for new moms, I would think, where do new moms spend their time? They're on the Facebook groups, on all the mom groups, talking to each other. So I want to make sure I have a presence on Facebook. They're probably not on TikTok or Instagram because it's likely they don't have time for that. So I wouldn't even be thinking about TikTok and Instagram right now. If you go where your customers are, it will be easier to find them.
And Krista, what I like about what you're saying is you're coming back to the basics of what we call the value proposition. Understanding the pain or the problem this person is facing. So, and that's so crucial in any type of business, whether it be e-commerce or a traditional business. You need to understand the problem your customer is facing. And are you bringing a solution which has value to your customer? One last quick question regarding growth areas and trends. Sustainable products, sustainability. Would you say that this is a key driver in how e-commerce is evolving? You mentioned, you know, fast fashion is out. Would you say that sustainability is something that our participants need to really consider in the product or the idea they'll be developing?
I think it's really important. I think we're seeing both businesses and consumers move into a more eco-friendly, sustainable place. I don't think that's going anywhere either. I think that's just going to get bigger and more important, and people are going to become more aware of the, you know, environmental impact. So yes, absolutely. If there is a sustainable aspect that you can incorporate into your business, I definitely recommend it.
And as you mentioned, Krista, young customers will change the business landscape. They are very much in tune with sustainability, and they will be the ones changing how businesses how organizations do business. And so our participants need to consider their target audience and their future customers. And if the younger generation, sustainability is something we need to look at.
Very important.
Krista, thank you so much. We really appreciate the time you took to prepare this presentation. Relevant content, you delivered it smack so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, so I'll ask you to turn your microphone off and your camera as well. And I'll invite our three panelists to join me on stage. So if Steve, Kendall, and Tevin can join me on stage right now, I'd really appreciate it. So just turn on your mics and cameras on.
Hello.
All right.
Hi.
So did you enjoy Krista's conference?
It was great, I think.
It was so great.
Did it have resonance for you? Is there any element of what Krista mentioned during your conference that had a strong resonance with your own experience as an e-commerce owner? Krista, Steve or Kendall or Tevin, anything that had strong resonance in Krista's conference?
Yeah,
You can go ahead.
Oh yeah, sure. I think I learned so much, honestly, especially the last thing she said, which is go where your customers are.
Yeah.
We tried for so long to be on every social media, but we have to go where our customers are instead of spreading out our attention into all these different platforms. That's huge.
So the idea of focusing is so important.
Yeah.
What about you on your side?
I would think that the sustainable aspect of it, we'll see a lot of people trying to reuse things, especially when they're trying to cut down on costs and seeing how, the pandemic has shifted everybody. You'll see people trying to get, 3 to 4 uses out of their products or, their grocery bags, to say the least, before they think about always just, throwing it out and having to pay for another one because they're trying to save on costs and, really be mindful of where their, like Krista said, where their wallets are being used.
And Tevin, how has sustainability affected your business model? Maybe you can give us an idea of what type of business you're in with the drop. I mean, just give us an idea.
For sure. So the drop is Ottawa's first sneaker dry cleaning service. It originated just from my pure desire of shoes and not knowing where I could get them clean instead of always thinking like, oh, I've messed these ones up. Now I got to go and find another pair. So I did a lot of digging and research on my own and figured out all these products that would be great for sustaining, all these higher end shoes, these low end shoes, these dress shoes, and these bags to make sure that we're getting the full maximum use out of them. And just because they're dirty or they have a scuff mark on them, it wasn't something that we could just be like, well, I can't wear those anymore. I really felt that if we could sustain these shoes and these bags, it will make you feel great to know that, hey, I don't have to find difficulty in trying to find another one because sometimes they're not available anymore. And so that was my whole aspect on sustainability and being able to continue to use our stuff.
So you started from a problem you were facing. Did you
personal.
Coming back to Kendall's intervention on focusing, having a good idea of who your customer is, did you validate your problem with other folks to see if other folks were sharing the same problem, and then you started to get some traction around that problem?
Exactly. Like for me, as much as like I was on Instagram, I had my own personal Instagram. I was really more in like the Facebook forums and the groups of people who were buying these shoes and stuff. And like we would share like, hey, this happened to my shoe. Like, does anyone know how to get this off? Or like, does anyone know how you can fix this? So that's where I spent a lot of my time in the beginning, was part of these groups before I went on like Instagram and, started spreading to Google and like putting my money where, it made sense to make advertising and marketing.
So basically what you did is you started to build a community around the idea, and this community followed you as you built your business. Basically, this is what I understand. Yeah,
exactly.
So cool. How did things unfold on your side, Ken and Steve? Give us an idea of what type of business you're in, and how were you able to focus on building that community to grow your business?
So we sell home decor. We take vintage matte prints and we stitch hearts through them for wherever you love, where you miss, where your heart remains. So I moved to Canada when my husband and I got married, and I really missed home, and I really thought travel was so important in the two of us meeting. So I made him a gift of all of the different maps that meant something to us. And I saw that people really enjoyed them because everyone misses somewhere or loves somewhere or traveled to somewhere important. And the idea took off. People started buying them as gifts. This was 5.5 years ago. And then 2 years later, we both went full time with our business. Yeah.
It's interesting because you've been in business for 5 years, and when I compare both businesses, there's an emotional component to your business, Kendall, whereas Kevin is something really practical.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And something that can get emotional when you're really
for
about
sure.
You're running shoes.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's something much more practical on your side, Kevin, than Kendall and Steve. It's all about memories. It's all about events or areas that have meaning to us, and it's something very emotional in terms of experience. Quick question for both of you, and then I'll say it in French, but starting a business such as yours, what is something we tend to underestimate in terms of time, energy, or problem solving? Is there one thing you underestimated when you started your business? I'll go with Kevin first of all, and I'll say the question in French. Ce que je demande présentement à nos invités, c'est de savoir s'il y a un élément qu'ils ont eu tendance à sous-estimer en créant leur entreprise. So something you underestimated, Kevin, what would be one thing?
I think it would be like the logistics of your products and understanding how you're going to, if someone buys something, how are you going to get it to your clientele? Like, how are you going to bring it in? Like for me in my business, we were so like based locally. And we started with one Shopify office, and then that snowballed into, a Shopify office in Toronto and Montreal. And you have to think about, how am I going to get there? How am I going to get my product and my business there to be able to, deal with the demand? So for a lot of people, like obviously mine was something that was a service, but when people are selling products, there's things that you have to look into, like your packaging and your shipping, because these are all costs that, affect how much money you will put in your pocket at the end of the day. So that's something that I feel like a lot of people underestimate. It's like, okay, well, like we sold it. Now what? Did we get proper shipping rates? Did we get good shipping rates? Did we get, good travel rates for us to go where we're going? And does it make sense with our product? And have we evaluated all the situations in hands of being able to go global or outside our city, or even just driving with local delivery, like Krista said? Are you charging for your local delivery or you're not? Because then you have to think about your fuel costs and your economy and the wear and tear on your car. So these are a lot of things I think people underestimate, is the logistics of how your business should function with how you're delivering it.
So that planning is crucial. That detailed planning is huge. Crucial. It has a major role on how viable your business is going to be. Yeah. How about you, Kendall and Steve? What has been one thing that you underestimated in your business model?
We're actually going to build on what Tevin said. We also said that we really underestimated shipping, especially for a product-based business like ourselves. Because of Amazon and big businesses, customers really expect free and fast shipping. And we all know that shipping is not free. It's actually really expensive in Canada. For example, our product is about $25.99, and it costs us anywhere from $10 to $20 to ship that across Canada. And people get really scared when they see that extra fee, something that high at checkout. So what we've dealt with and learned over the years is that it's okay to raise your prices to include shipping into your cost. It's also a good idea to do a flat rate shipping. If you want to, we raised all of our prices anywhere from 99 cents to $5. And then we did $10 flat rate shipping across Canada. And also having a free shipping over a certain amount was a really good way for us to it was an incentive for people to buy more, and also gave them free shipping. So we do free shipping over $100. And those all kind of helped save our shipping woes, which honestly lasted years. So I wish we had done some of that earlier.
I can imagine. So it took lots of years, and you had to do lots of an analysis. You have to analyze this and see, in terms of perception, how is it going to be perceived by customers, and how need to package the message so that it's not perceived as a surprise, which is a bad surprise for some customers. So there was lots of thinking you needed to do. And it took lots of years. And it's something that I think our entrepreneurs need to understand. It's not something you're going to solve in a couple of weeks or
No.
months.
No.
It often takes years to solve.
Trial and error.
Yeah, trial and error. What is one thing you overestimated in building your business? Is there something you imagined it was going to be so tough, and finally it was, well, quite easy to manage or quite easy to solve? One thing that you overestimated, Steve?
Yeah. So for us, like kind of still building on the same thing, like we were so set on like keeping our prices the same as they were in person. We were like, our maps cost $20 and we're just opening a website and they'll cost $20 and that'll be it. And we didn't think like, well, the website costs money to make and to maintain. And then you got, you know, if you want to run ads, that costs money and stuff like that. So like, you can't be too like precious on keeping your price where you want. Like sometimes you just got to raise your prices and like don't overestimate like your prices. Don't think, oh, it needs to be $20. It's like, it can be 25. It's okay. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like that.
How about you, Kevin? Something that you overestimated and finally it wasn't much of a mountain?
I think like the complexity of just setting it all up. Sometimes like you overthink things and you want it to be so perfect that you end up missing your window or your opportunity that has presented itself. So I think the biggest thing that a lot of people and a lot of entrepreneurs overestimate is just wanting for it to be so perfect and applying pressure and extra difficulty on yourself before you can just say like, hey, you know what, this is where I'm at right now. Let's just proceed, because you just keep building on it. And it's the same thing that, you know, Kendall and Steve were saying. It's just like, if you have a price that you want to honor, you know what, that's fine, but you can always keep going up from there. You know what I mean? But you have to start somewhere to see how people perceive and, you know, like take that information in, and then you make your adjustments, because if you never start, then you'll never know where you're going or where you need to change and pivot and add certain aspects to your business. So I think a lot of people just overthink a little bit too much and think it's a lot harder than what it is. And you can just, if you have the idea and you know what you can do for yourself to start, then do what you can do for yourself to start, and then go ahead and add in everything else and go from there.
So basically, there's a certain amount of planning we can do, but then after a while, you need to, as Steve mentioned, you
just got to do it.
Yeah, you just have to do it.
Yeah.
And there's a saying, over analysis leads to paralysis.
Yeah.
So we don't want to go into that. Tell me, a common mistake an inexperienced e-commerce entrepreneur sometimes happens to do. Is there any common mistakes we tend to do as inexperienced entrepreneurs starting in the e-commerce sector? What is one common mistake you probably did, Tevin? Or
I would think that not doing enough research on the field that you're getting into. Understand, like, you know, your competitive advantage, understand what your competitors are doing, understand where like you're coming in to really, you know, offer your product or service. How different is it from everything else? Like, you know, do your research, dig a little bit. If you have questions about brands that are doing something that's similar to you, research on them. Like, I spent a lot of time on the internet just researching what people are using, what people are doing, where people are going, to be able to understand how I can take all that information I've just collected and apply it to my own business to make sure that I'm curating something that is different from what everyone else is offering. So I think a lot of people, you know, the common mistake is they don't do enough research. They just go ahead and do it. And, you know, then you end up backtracking, you know, like you always go with your first, you don't swing on the first, you know, pitch, you know, you got to watch it and understand where it's coming from and then be able to adapt and go from there.
And what I like about what you're saying, Tevin, is the fact, you know, coming back to Krista's conference, you know, being in business is to solve a problem. But whose problem? You need to understand your customer. But then is there somebody else, another business that's already addressing that problem to your customer? And how are you going to differentiate yourself of the competitors? So it's great to understand your customer and the problem, but is there somebody that's already addressing that problem? And you need to do that.
Exactly.
Research, as you mentioned.
You need to understand that. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah, it's so crucial. Kendall and Steve, a common mistake you'd like to share with our group?
For sure. Like for us, one of the things, like we're a product-based company. We have so many different products. Like we have over 1,000 different maps of different places and stuff. And we found that like not having great photography was like a common mistake. So it's like, you need to have like such nice, like it's the way you sell your products, right? Like, so the picture of the product is how anyone's going to be willing to buy it. And if it doesn't look good, then they're not going to buy it. So it's like you need to be able to figure out how to take good pictures. And it doesn't, like, for us, we use photo apps and we use like our phones, so like you can get really good pictures or like close to professional pictures from just.
Yeah. And speaking of mobile too, I think a huge thing is optimizing your website for mobile. When we look at our stats, most of our traffic is mobile, where it used to be desktop. So making sure you have a theme for your store that seamlessly transitions to mobile is huge for the buyer experience.
It is, and coming back to Krista's conference, when she mentioned about young customers will change a business landscape, they're all on the phones.
Yeah.
So you have to consider this. Just before we go on to something else, I'd like to have an idea of how important is the customer experience? If you would describe what the customer experience feels like, looks like for Saturday in June. If I would ask one of your customers to describe the experience, what would this person say about the customer experience at Saturday in June?
Through our website?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So we need to make our website really easy for people to understand, especially because our product has an emotion to it that you normally get in person. So to transition that to online, we make sure people can see right at the top a nice search option. They can see heart maps. They can see that they can search for all of the different places. But first, when you go on our website, you see a slider, and it kind of explains all of our products. There's even a section that shows us, because an about page is huge for your website. It's one of the actually most visited pages on everyone's website. It's the first one I go to when I go to a website. You want to know who makes your products or who's selling the products, what their story is. And especially for us, when we can't be there in person telling people our story, they really want to find that for themselves online. And then the checkout experience is huge too. People want a PayPal button or a buy now button right when they go to the product. And they want to be able to seamlessly select shipping or curbside pickup. So it's really all about customer experience.
Tell me, when you developed your website, did you get some of your customers' feedback into building that website, the experience? How much validation did you do in building your website, in keeping in mind the customer experience?
Always, and we're still learning too.
Okay.
It's huge. Like even with our maps, we sell them framed, and we saw that people were kind of confused. So we added an option so people can see the framing and they could pick two different options. So pretty much anytime we get any feedback, we tinker with things on our website. And our whole website was built around customers' experience and their emotions. And we're still learning how to tap into that emotion. But it's really, we based everything off of what customers tell us.
And even
go ahead, Steve.
Sorry, I was just going to say, even with our shipping, like just a little note, like a personalized handwritten note for people, like little things that are going to can kind of attach people, like, oh, there's a person that made this for me. And we send a personalized thank you note with every order, so people know that there's real people that made them.
That's cool, because since you're selling an emotional product, there needs to be that attention. Those little details can make a big difference.
Yeah.
In keeping these customers on board. Tevin, how about you? Customer experience, what does it look like at the drop?
Yeah. So for the biggest thing with the drop, and we started fully e-commerce, was allowing people to feel the sense of community and knowing that, okay, well, I'm in this point of the city, I can't make it all the way downtown, like I can't make it to this part of the city or that part of the city, but I really want to get this done. So for us, we looked at it in the aspect of who can we partner with in different locations of the city where people could go to and drop their footwear or their bags off and not have to make that extra travel to feel inconvenienced. So we partnered with a bunch of people in the city and really included that in our online to allow customers to feel like, it's like the first thing when you go on, it's like you can come to our store or you can go to one of our partner locations. It's like literally down past the background. It's like pick one or the other right then and there. Both services are the same. It's like not to deter you from thinking, oh, well, like this is too far for me to go to. So really experience, like adding that user experience to know that, like, hey, I'm here or I'm there, but I could still be a part of this community or still experience this service or still be able to, feel like something that I had love is lost and that these guys can bring it back for me. Here's the opportunity. And I don't have to go like through like over a mountain to get there or to receive the service. So just really like experiencing that and understanding the customer and how they want to feel was like just a lot of research, and really understanding.
I can imagine, though, the fact of working with partners, making sure that the experience, there's a common thread, wherever you go, there's a common thread, must pose a challenge to you, as much as
for sure, definitely.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I'm seeing that the time flies. If you would have one lesson learned you'd like to share with our entrepreneurs, and I'll ask all the three of you to share one lesson learned, and I'll start with you, Steve. What would be one lesson learned that you would really want to share with our entrepreneurs today that they need to keep in mind?
So for us, it was it's pretty simple one. Like, just so for me, it's like, if I am working for myself, I don't mind doing it like all the time. So like back when I used to work my job, I used to work 40 hours a week and be exhausted. And now I can work all the time. Like I never turn it off, but like, it's because it's hours, you know what I mean? So like I'm willing to work a lot harder for myself, knowing that the reward that comes from that, you know what I mean? So I'd say that's like a big lesson I learned, is like, I can actually work a lot more than I thought I could. Just it needs to be for the right thing.
There's a really great quote by Shark Tank, Lori Grenier, and she says entrepreneurs are willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week. And it's so true. When you find something you love, it's so funny how hard you'll work to keep it going.
So basically, it's not time spent, but time invested. But as well, Steve, I'm going to be a bit critical here, but how do you keep a work-life balance? Because you can get consumed with your business. I know I'm a businessman, and you can get consumed. How do you find discipline to take a certain distance and not be totally consumed by your business? Because it is an issue.
It's something, honestly, I need to work on. We honestly work some days until like 2 a.m. It's just, we'll be sitting, like, we have the luxury of being able to work on our product when we're actually working on the product and not on the website. We have the luxury of just sitting on the couch and making our products. So it is really blurs the line sometimes of like, when I'm just, because like now I don't watch TV without having a map to stitch in my hand, because I feel like I'm wasting my time, like I feel like why would I just watch TV anymore? Like, I should get some work done. So it's something I honestly need to work on personally.
Okay. How about you, Tevin? One lesson learned that you'd like to share with our participants?
I don't really have a lesson that I would say that is lesson learned, but something that your group can take away is, grow with your business. Don't rush, stick to your plan. And if the plan changes, embrace the success and challenges it brings. Everyone's going to have different lessons learned. And, for me, I've really just grown with my business. So I haven't had something where I'm like, oh my God, like lesson learned, I'll never do that again. It was just, I took it day by day, little by little. And as things changed, I accepted the change and looked at, okay, well, if that's the change, like here's what can happen with that. And here's the difficulties that may arise with these changes. But, if we work through this, then we'll be able just to keep going. And that allows you to grow as a person and allows you to view things differently and be able to pivot with your business when need be.
It's funny because Krista mentioned resilience earlier in her conference. And I think that we need to learn how to adapt, and the pandemic has shown us how to deal with uncertainties. And starting a business is all about dealing with uncertainties, and in a context such as the pandemic, it's even worse. But one last question: do you have people, other business folks, or other entrepreneurs you can talk to, share some more personal challenges you're facing as an entrepreneur? Do you have that type of network, Tevin, Kendall, and Steve? Do you have that network?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
definitely. And especially like a lot of my friends and like the business that they're in the restaurant business. So they see things change on the, something could be great in the morning when they start, but at night, like they've had the worst day. And it's like, well, what happened in the 10 hours between, you seeing you in the morning and then hearing from you at night? So, it's really good to have like a group of people who understand what you're involved in. It may not be necessarily the same business, but just being entrepreneurs in general, because they'll spark ideas for you that, maybe you might be able to translate into your own business. So really having people who understand entrepreneurship or the desire to be an entrepreneur, I would say is like, build that group of friends and have that circle around you to allow you to stay motivated.
And that's so important. How about
It has been so important in our business growing. When we first started, a bunch of other makers started around the same time, and 2 different businesses in particular, we kind of formed this like maker gang. We would call ourselves, we would get together, we would share ideas. Whenever one of us was having a problem, we'd be able to talk it out. We'd all
have
knew
complaining sessions about certain things too, all that stuff.
We all knew what we were going through, so we could help each other. We could say, that's really not a big deal, or that's a big deal. Here's how we fix it. It was so important. We could also just get together and have a glass of wine and having someone that knew what we were going through. And we're still close with them as well. 5 years later, it's so important. So if you could find, and Ottawa in particular, and the area has so many small businesses and so many people that you can connect with through Invest Ottawa or through craft markets or through this amazing event too, that you can make connections. Definitely keep those connections, and it helps a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that network is really important so that you don't feel that it can be a lonely type of job.
Yeah.
And it's important to have that network, but also to find other solutions, find other resources. And I think it's crucial to foster that network. Thank you so much for taking some time on Saturday. It was engaging in this conversation. I can feel the passion, and it's funny. I don't want to be esoteric here, but you have a very beautiful energy. And yesterday when we had the chance to talk, it hit me out, your smiles and the energy, and how proud you are of your businesses. And it's great to have this opportunity to talk. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much.
Stay with us and mingle with the people. So, thanks a lot.
Yes, and good luck to everyone.
Good luck, guys. Thank you so much for having us. This has been awesome.
Great. Thank you very much. So if you want to turn your off and cameras off, thank you again. And thank you, Krista. Alors, bon, j'espère que ça vous a plu. J'espère que vous avez trouvé nos panélistes intéressants. Je vois qu'il est déjà à 9h54. Alors, là, je dois juste voir avec mon écran, j'essaie de pouvoir voir la salle Raymond, donc de voir le plan de site. Nada, je risque d'avoir besoin peut-être d'un petit coup de main ici, mais bon, voici comment ça va se dérouler pour la fin, pour le restant, pardon, de l'activité. Vous voyez sur le plan de site, il y a différentes tables. Nous avons donc 8 tables dans le site qui sont identifiées par des thèmes, soit numérique, produit ou service. Donc, ce qu'on va vous demander en ce moment, c'est la partie un peu plus chaotique de ce que nous allons faire. Je vais vous demander de vous déplacer à la table qui convient au genre d'idées de projets que vous aimeriez développer. Avant de commencer à vous déplacer, vous vous souviendrez que sur Swapcard, vous avez ce super document et on vous a posé, qui est donc le canevas pour l'exercice d'idéation, on vous a posé 3 questions sur Swapcard pour déjà vous aider à faire avancer votre idée de projet. On vous a demandé quel type d'entreprise de commerce électronique, à savoir si c'était un type de bien physique, donc de produits, de services ou de produits numériques. Et ensuite, on vous a posé la question à savoir quel type de commerce électronique. Il y en avait 6 sortes différentes. Pour le moment, je vous demande donc de vous regrouper aux tables selon l'idée que vous prévoyez développer. Est-ce une idée de produit, une idée de service ou une idée donc plus de numérique? Donc, je vous invite à vous déplacer aux tables. Je vous donne à peu près 3 minutes pour faire ça. Et là, je vais vous expliquer le déroulement des activités. Donc, je vous laisse vous déplacer pour le moment.